Good morning, my people, my people, my people. My name is Chief Strongblood, St. Vincent and the Grenadines' favorite and most hated son, the diaspora machismo. People, I give you all a warning yesterday that I'll be coming live on a St. Vincent we come from. I didn't say exactly which one, but I'm coming live today from a St. Vincent we come from, number 3. And we have some very important thing to discuss, right? But what I want you to keep in mind is Ralph Gonsalves' Alzheimer's is a threat to Julian Francis' continued freedom. Ralph Gonsalves' Alzheimer's is a threat to Julian Francis' continued freedom. Now, there's a lot of people whose freedom and security are in danger because of what Ralph Gonsalves is currently experiencing. One of those people is Julian Francis. Before we go into what I really want to say, let me just explain something about the CIA that you may not know. The Central Intelligence Service of the United States of America is an intelligence service that operates around the world, except for in Europe, where they have a white population. The objective of the CIA is to ensure American interests, which is American dominance around the world, except for in Europe. And they will do anything in their power to ensure that America and Europe and the white nations remain strong while other nations suffer and is always in governmental chaos. Now, one of the things you have to understand how the CIA operates. The CIA operates like any Caucasians operate, right? This is how they do. They convince African, South American, Caribbean, Central America, Asian, Indian, they convince these people that they are trustworthy and they can be trusted, and all of their actions are in their best interest. Remember, they do so under a covert nature where all these people know is that these white people have enticed me into trusting them, and they appear to be trustworthy. They don't know that they are CIA agents because they act covertly. And when they have gained your trust, what they do, they convince those people around you who you now trust, who have earned your trust, that whatever you are doing and your plans goes against their political ideal, their plans and program for their countries. And they convince these people to betray their trusted leader. And normally, their countries end up in political turmoil. A good example of this is Grenada. We all know that the Grenada Revolution, the bloodless coup, was a strong revolution. The Grenadian masses had had enough of Eric Gary and his oppression and exploitation of the people of Grenada using the Mongoose Squad gang. So when Maurice Bishop stepped up and caused the overthrow of Eric Gary, the Grenadian population was behind Maurice Bishop. Maurice Bishop will go into the community and hold the representative, the parliamentary officer of that community, accountable before their communities. Maurice Bishop was acting in the best interest of Grenada and Grenadians. The CIA could not convince any Grenadian to go against the revolution. None will go against the revolution. And not even the Eric Gary supporters could get close to the Maurice Bishop government to betray the revolution. Then Maurice Bishop befriended a Caribbean brother by the name of Ralph Gonsalves, an Edomite, a Caucasian, a Portuguese by descent. And when Ralph Gonsalves owned Maurice Bishop Trust, the CIA went in and used Ralph Gonsalves as the tool to cause dissension within the Maurice Bishop revolution. I'm getting somewhere, people. Hang on with me. So now, here we are. Maurice Bishop have had Ralph Gonsalves and others, Caribbean brethren, Michael Denny, and so forth, around him. These are people who confessed that they support his revolution. They couldn't use Michael Denny because Michael Denny is a black man and he was a radical. He would not betray the revolution. But with a promise to Ralph Gonsalves, they were able to use Ralph Gonsalves to betray the Grenada Revolution. The Grenada Revolution main priority was to get mainstream recognition and acceptance. And in order for them to get mainstream recognition and acceptance, they have to be recognized by the American government. And the American government refused to recognize them. Maurice Bishop was fed information from the CIA via Ralph Gonsalves. All of the information about the American government and how they felt about the revolution and Maurice Bishop was fed to him through Ralph Gonsalves. You hear with me? Now, since the main objective of the revolution was to gain American acceptance and therefore become accepted in mainstream politics as the official government of Grenada, Maurice Bishop, he write letters, he made phone call, he contacted the Black Caucus of the United States, but the American federal government refused to acknowledge Maurice Bishop as Prime Minister and his revolutionary government as the official government of Grenada. During this time, when all of these work are being done, the CIA have already identified Bernard Code as a weak link in the revolution. Ralph Gonsalves, who went to Bernard Code and told Bernard Code that the American is willing to work with him, but they are not willing to work with Maurice Bishop. Why? Because he is the one who led the coup that led to the overthrow of the legitimate elected government in Grenada. It was not enough for Bernard Cole to apprehend and imprison Maurice Bishop. They wanted Maurice Bishop dead. That is why what happened in Grenada, when Bernard Code betrayed the revolution, killed Maurice Bishop and all of his strong supporters within the framework of the government, which triggered the American to now come into Grenada and put an end to this nonsense, as they call it, revolution. So for Ralph Gonsalves, effort in destroying the Grenada Revolution, they create, the CIA that is, create hostile situation using Ralph Gonsalves as the catalyst of this hostility in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, forced James Mitchell out of power, and Ralph Gonsalves became the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He is protected by the CIA. His government was initiated by the CIA, and he is still operating on behalf of the CIA in the Caribbean. Mia Mottley is not a threat to Ralph Gonsalves because she's homosexual. He controls her naturally. Now, Hugo Chavez's government in Venezuela was a very big concern to the United States government. So when you see Ralph Gonsalves going to Venezuela on a regular basis, right, he going there to shake down Nicolas Maduro for aid because he is incompetent and he cannot run the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He go out and he solicit aid and he pump the aid into the economy. And when the aid go into the economy, it looks like he's doing anything. But what is happening? Our GDP don't increase. Our circulating capital increase for a little because the money comes into the community and it goes back out with the same speed. So when he say he went to Venezuela 5 years ago and he negotiated 50% debt reduction for all OES country and 100% for Dominica. And this time again, 5 years later, he went back to Venezuela and he negotiated another 50% for all of the OES countries. But this time, St. Vincent and the Grenadines get the 100% debt reduction because of the soufre, because of the hurricane, and because of all of the other things that are complicating our economy. This is not a negotiation in good faith. What you have to realize, Ralph Gonsalves enticed Maduro into getting Chavez sick with cancer, pelvic cancer. You don't hear about pelvic cancer, but the CIA wanted their action to be known. They wanted their action to be known that Maduro, that Chavez have pelvic cancer, an unheard of cancer, and he will die from it. Let me tell you something. Nicolas Maduro was convinced by Ralph Gonsalves in the same way he convinced Bernard Cord that the way Chavez is going with the government, it is contrary to what he, Maduro, think the direction should be. Ralph Gonsalves supplied Maduro with the technological expertise to give Hugo Chavez cancer, and he provided him with the technical expertise to ensure that that cancer in his pelvis grow and end up taking his demise. Remember, Maduro was Hugo Chavez's closest confidant. The last person you will expect to do you any harm will be the closest confidant, because he is supposed to be watching your back. If anything happened to you, the man who you are going to recommend and put into place will be that guy. So when Ralph Gonsalves go to Venezuela and meet with Nicolas Maduro and ask him for aid, you know what he's doing? Maduro now feel entitlement to Ralph Gonsalves, because had it not been for Ralph Gonsalves' plans, Maduro would not have been president today. And Maduro also had it in the back of his head that Ralph Gonsalves is the only man who knows what I have done. And he is the only man who can embarrass me and turn the political directorate in Venezuela against me and turn the Venezuelan populace against me. So when Ralph Gonsalves go and make these demands of Maduro, he is making them knowing that Maduro is aware of the fact that had it not been for him, Maduro would not have been president. Had it not been for him and his plans, Maduro would not be where he is today, managing the resource of one of the richest nations on earth. And he also do it knowing that he has the dot upon Maduro. My people, with Ralph Gonsalves' Alzheimer's and with his regular bout of dementia, he is a dangerous to Maduro and everyone who he assisted or anyone who he conspired with. My people, let me tell you something, right? Bernard Code's secret is out, but it is not yet being confirmed. Because Bernard Code will not tell on himself, and Ralph Gonsalves will not tell on him, because there may come a day where he will be able to use Bernard Code's service somewhere, somehow, if he ain't dead. Now, let us bring this thing home. Glenn Jackson was murdered. They never find Glenn Jackson true murderer. The citizenry of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is of the opinion, based on the circumstances around Glenn Jackson's death, the fact that he had a bombshell to break the Monday morning before, when he go to his radio program. But before Monday reached, Glenn Jackson was dead. His body was clean, like it was clean by a mortician. His clothes were properly folded up and placed alongside his body in his vehicle, and his naked body was there with a gunshot wound, the fatal wound that killed Glenn Jackson. The people know that Ralph Gonsalves and his government was the cause of Glenn Jackson's death. It cannot be proven. Mr. Cruikshank, after he left the Unity Labour Party, he was run over by a vehicle that was being driven by one of Julian Francis' close associates. The people know that Ralph Gonsalves and Julian Francis had a hand in Mr. Cruikshank's death, but it cannot be proven. There is a lot of other incidents that happen in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which Ralph Gonsalves and Julian Francis is alleged to have a hand in, but it cannot be proven. Because Alzheimer's disease takes away the control of a person's mind from his subconscious and take it away from his consciousness, and the person's mind operates independently of their conscious and their subconscious. Ralph Gonsalves and Julian is a detriment to Julian Francis and his organizing of Glenn Jackson's death, of Mr. Cruikshank's death. Because now Ralph Gonsalves does not have the control he once had over his mind. He is liable to spill the beans at any time, and he would have no control over the beans that he has spilled. People, we have heard of many people with Alzheimer's confessing to criminal activities they were involved in. They are not even aware of what they're doing. But their mind is so overloaded with the nastiness they have done that their mouth becomes the output, an uncontrolled output of their minds. They speak all kind of nastiness that they will have done. And when you listen to their stories correctly and intently, you would realize that this man is aware of what he is saying and the other rambling that comes between the real story sometimes throw people off. My people, Maduro had a hand in his boss's death, Raul Castro. Maduro was responsible for giving Hugo Chavez cancer. He was responsible for ensuring that Hugo Chavez ingests the chemicals that will escalate his cancer and make it fatal. So Ralph Gonsalves' Alzheimer's and dementia is also a threat. It's a threat to Nicolas Maduro. It's a threat to Nicolas Maduro. It's a threat to Julian Francis. And it's a threat to all of those people. It's a threat to all of those people who have enticed on behalf of the CIA to take actions against their governments and their leaders. Whether Raul Castro was involved in that, in bringing the demise of his brother Fidel, is a threat to Raul also. If you notice, he has a lot of power over Nicolas Maduro. Over $180 million was forgiven just because Ralph Gonsalves complained. That debt disappeared from St. Vincent's account in the Alba Bank. The $9 million they had at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is now given back to St. Vincent in a loan. And St. Vincent and the Grenadines is still getting oil from Petrocarib, and they are not obligated to pay for it because of the sanctions that are imposed upon Venezuela by the United States government. People, if you are unable to pay them for the oil and the oil products because of the sanction, you should be forbidden to take their commodity because of the sanction. My people, Ralph Gonsalves is going to mysteriously die. He's either going to die in St. Vincent, and it will look like an accident, like Glenn Jackson's death was an accident, because there's a lot of people in St. Vincent whose Ralph Gonsalves' current medical status is a threat to them. Julian Francis and others. If Ralph Gonsalves go into the House of Parliament one day, where he have unfettered access to speak openly, and he go into a spell of dementia, and he start to spill the beans, the entire nation will hear what Julian Francis did to Glenn Jackson and to Cruikshank. Can Julian Francis afford this? No, he can't. When Ralph Gonsalves' dementia escalate again, can he run to Venezuela now that this sheep is out of the bag for medical attention? No, he can't, because he may not come back alive, or that plane will crash on reaching in the airspace of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Can he go to Cuba? Now that his dementia is a threat to all those people who the CIA use him to disrupt the smooth activities in their government? No, he cannot go. My people, I am doing this video for Ralph Gonsalves to see, so that he can know that he is a man without a land. He is a man that have to be looking over his shoulder, even as it relates to his confidant and cousin, Julian Francis. Julian Francis is loyal, but his loyalty ends where his freedom concerns. His loyalty to Ralph Gonsalves will end in the same way where his loyalty to Glenn Jackson ended, where his freedom and jeopardizing his ability to spend the millions of dollars he stole from the government. My people, Ralph Gonsalves, my friend, you are a man without a land. You are not safe, even as Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You have become a threat to the Vincentian community. You have become a threat to all of those people you got involved in criminal activities on your behalf. You have become a threat to their safety. You are now a threat to Julian Francis' safety. You are a threat to Maduro's government. You are a threat to the Cuban's government. My people, you don't have too long. It's either this stress is going to send him into full-blown Alzheimer's, where Julian Francis will have the opportunity to say that he committed suicide because he couldn't deal with the Alzheimer's, or one of these governments whom he have enticed using CIA resources and information is going to ensure that he meets his demise. Sooner or later, before this year out, something drastic is going to happen in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Super might blow again, you never know. It might blow up Ralph Gonsalves house, you never know. But I hate to be the bearer of bad news, no. In this case, I don't hate it. I take pleasure in being the bearer of this set of bad news. My name is Chief Strongblood, St. Vincent and the Grenadines' favorite and most hated son, the Diaspora Mochesma. I'm out. The chief is gone.